Let me tell you about the time I almost died in the oil field. We were moving the rig, and if you don't know anything about drilling rigs, you have to assemble them and then disassemble, move, reassemble. It goes piece by piece, and it's actually one of the harder processes of working on a drilling rig. These drilling rigs are held together with very large steel eyepieces. So you'll have one piece like this, and then you'll have two similar pieces, and they line up. You put a pin through there, and the pins are big. They're like this. I'd say maybe 7-8 pounds. So we're putting this rig up, and the structure, we're working on the sub. If you've never been in the oil field, when you're working on a drilling rig, the sub is the substructure of the rig floor. So if you go ahead and look up some videos on throwing chain, making connections, the sub is everything below that. Now down below that is where you have your BOP, which is a blowout preventer. This allows you to manage anything underground that destabilizes. Like you can get a kick of gas coming back at you. You can come up with a bunch of pressure. It can even light on fire. It's what failed in that Mark Wahlberg movie Down in the Gulf Coast. So as you're setting up the rig, we take our BOP and on the inside of the sub, and so the sub, it's kind of like if you took like books, like when you're a little kid and made like a little house, book, house. If you did that with steel, that's what the sub looks like. And it's held together with those pins. Well, they had just placed the BOP. It has like this little custom made shelf. And it has holes where you can put bolts down and nuts. And that way it can sit there to the side, because you really don't need that until you get a little deeper. You don't need it in the beginning for the first few 100 feet. So we set that over there, and because I was a low man, so one of the higher ups, he's an idiot, like let's face it, but he's like, hey, go down there and tighten them up. And I could tell he was just trying to make me do something just to make me do it. And I was like, nah, bro, I think I want to wait a minute. And he's like, no, go down there and do that. I go down there, I'm doing that, and he ends up going to put the pins up in the top of the sub, those pins I told you about. And the proper procedure with these pins is you take this pin, somebody has to hold it, and you hit it with the hammer, because those eyes, they're not going to be completely, they're not going to be like completely lined up. You're going to need to kind of put some pressure on it. So you have somebody who holds it, then you have somebody with a sledgehammer that swings and smacks it in. Well, this dude just put it in there, smacked it, and nobody was holding on to it, and it literally landed this far from my face while I'm down there trying to wrench up this BOP. Right? And I didn't even realize what had actually happened until like later. I felt the pressure. I jumped out. I ran out, and this trucker, because there's a lot of truckers around, because every part of a rig is heavy, and every one of those pieces actually needs its own dedicated semi to move. And one of those truckers, he puts his hand on my shoulder. He goes, dude, you're a better man than me, because if somebody would have done that, I would have went off on him. He's like, you got an angel on your shoulder or something. And then I realized, because I'm laying, like, I have a hard hat on, but I'm laying on the ground. So it came, like, the hard hat wouldn't have even mattered. And one of the things that really made me mad about the whole situation in hindsight, like, I didn't feel like that then, because I was just like, oh, whatever, man. Like, I looked him in the eyes and I was like, bro, you're an asshole, right? And he just goes, yeah, I know. He couldn't even apologize or nothing. Like, hey, my bad, man. Like, man, I told him I didn't want to be down there. I knew it, bro. Something was telling me. But anyway, that's the closest I've ever gotten to death at work. I think. technically, because it was like that close. But I got some more stories. I've done a lot of jobs.